Join us, Alix
and Colleen,
self-proclaimed fake it till you make it experts, as we navigate the highs and lows of being a woman and how the pressure and overwhelm of trying to do it all often leads to feeling like an imposter in our own lives. Join Colleen and I for a very special bonus holiday episode where we chat about the various pressures the holidays can bring and ways in which we can move through and past them.
Hi, Alix.
Hi, Colleen.
Happy holidays.
Welcome to the Imposter Sisters Christmas episode.
We thought we would end the year with talking about expectations around the holidays and our own traditions and our own feelings around the holidays and that sort of stuff. Because as wonderful as this time of year is, it can be tough.
Yeah, I think a lot of people really struggle during the holidays, myself included. And it's important to talk about the ups and downs and what that entails for most people.
I can honestly say that my childhood Christmases were wonderful. I had great childhood Christmases, a lot of time with family. And my adult Christmases, I don't know if I want that back, like that, those feelings back of all of the happy times or what I perceived as all of this joyous, happy stuff. But it's never, I have good Christmases, but I'm always missing something.
Well, and I don't know this is the case for everybody, but I think for most children, Christmas is a magical time. Certainly not for all, unfortunately, but for most children, it's a magical time regardless. It's excitement. There's no school. Typically, there's new family members around. There's lots of good food. Presents are coming. There's a lot of excitement in the air, regardless of whether your family has a lot of tradition or those types of things. So it becomes almost impossible to live up to that as an adult anyway, because you don't have the same magic feeling.
So do you think I just want to be a kid again?
Possibly. I don't know. I also think we're all just striving to get back to something that maybe did or did not exist. But
yeah. Did you have good Christmases? Did you have good holidays?
Certainly, yes. It was a little bit different. My mom is Jewish and my dad was raised Christian. So we kind of did a little bit of both holidays. We always celebrated Hanukkah at my childhood home because Hanukkah would usually come earlier than Christmas, typically. And then Christmas was spent with my dad's parents in Halifax. So we never had a Christmas tree in my family home, ever. We didn't decorate, no lights or anything like that. We did all of that basically condensed into a week at my grandparents' house. So they would wait for us to decorate the tree, and then we would do all of the Christmas traditions with them, which was special in its own way as well, obviously. But certainly a little bit different than most of the kids that we were in school with. And then we were lucky because we kind of blended the two. I would say it was to a lesser extent than a lot of other families in terms of like how Christmas went down, but between the two, we made out all right.
Yeah, we made out well as well. My parents went all out. Christmas was, it was big. It was big for them. It was, and I know that they would have struggled to put, some years were better than others. And I know mom and dad would have definitely struggled to have some of the Christmases that we had. But I can honestly say we had some pretty big, joyous Christmases. But to me, again, it wasn't, yes, I loved the presents. I mean, I love presents. I really and truly do. But it was also about the time spent with family. We've got some really lovely family traditions in there, especially being from Newfoundland. I have 40 cousins. Dad's got 9 brothers, 10 brothers and sisters. Mom's got 9 or 8, or I don't know. And then they're all married. They've all got kids. We've got a big family.
That certainly makes a difference for sure. I think if the bigger the family and the more traditions and visiting and those types of things. We are a very small family of 5, didn't have any relatives that lived in our town. Like I said, my dad's parents were in Halifax and he had a sister that lived here as well. So we would see them, and we had cousins our age. So there was a little bit of fun element to that extent too, that we didn't see those family members very often. And of course, traveling to Halifax from Yarmouth when you're a kid is also a big magical deal as well.
Yeah, that's a big deal. We moved here when I was 10, we moved to Nova Scotia. And I missed those big Christmases after that. And I remember every time that song came on, I'll be home for Christmas. One Christmas, I believe, we went home Boxing Day, and it was a big deal that we all went to Newfoundland for Christmas. But I kind of missed having all of that family around from that point forward.
I
Oh,
was
that's
always
amazing.
jealous of people that had big families and had a lot of traditions, had a lot of events that they were going to, or just had a lot of people around, which is ironic since I dislike people mostly. So I think it's one of those things that you kind of always want what you don't have. And I think that probably I would find a lot of engagements like that overwhelming in reality.
Well,
But
because I'm sure there's the people that are doing all the things that are like, I just want one night alone.
yeah,
Whereas I have nights alone that I'm like, oh, I just want to go somewhere. I want to be, because for me now, Christmas is changed. Christmas changed from the moment of my divorce. And my divorce was very much happened around Christmas time. The fallout of my marriage happened around Christmas time. So there's so many things that I feel a lot of bitterness towards around those whole different dates stand out to me. Different triggers happen during the holidays that unexpectedly, all of a sudden, something will hit me and I'll be annoyed. And I can't get some of that stuff. I can't get away from that stuff, even though time has certainly gone, many years have gone on, it still comes back. So I find divorce, the fallout of my marriage happened around the holidays, but also that meant that I got my kids less time during the holidays and I had to split the holidays. And there is nothing worse. There was nothing worse during the holidays than my kids walking out of the house on Christmas Day to go to their father's house. And it's tough for them.
mm,
It's really hard for them because they know I'm home alone at times, but they're also doing their things and they also have partners and they're trying to do all the things. And I think it causes them a lot of stress. My expectations cause my children stress.
I think one of the biggest stressors of the holidays are expectations, whether they're self-imposed, whether they're external pressures that we feel, whether they're things that are out of our control, like the dissolution of a family, or we'll get to it a little bit later, but death and grief and all the things. There's all these expectations around the holidays that it's supposed to be this magical time, that everything is supposed to be positive and everybody's supposed to be happy, and we're all reflecting on the year. In a lot of cases, that reflection can be really painful and hard. And there's a lot of things that either have happened around the holidays that trigger those memories, or are magnified because of the holidays.
Yeah, and I think sometimes I feel like sometimes I do it to myself. For example, I love a good Hallmark show. I know you probably don't. Knowing you, you do not like a good Hallmark show. But
Well, I am glad that
I
I am projecting that, because that is the truth.
I do love a good Hallmark show. But then I get wrapped up in these Hallmark shows and I get myself in this funk of why can't I
Move back to your
move back to
hometown
my
and
hometown and fall in love with the contractor who's rebuilding the like
who's
why
just miraculously conveniently divorced and ready to move
exactly
on.
and ready to move on, and why can't we suddenly kiss at the very end as the snow starts to fall? Why can't that be me? I think, and I can get myself into these funk of, oh, okay, one too many Hallmark show, Colleen, move on. But that's what's projected out there. You see the movies and you see the shows and you see all these happy, wonderful, glorious things, those damn Norman Rockwell paintings, and it's not the reality. But we get it in our heads. That's the way it should be. But that is not life.
No, and I think that there's instances of that year round where you get into that comparison paralysis and you think that everybody else has got it better, or is doing it better, or understands it better, or has it all together. And the reality is they're also struggling in different or maybe similar ways that you're unaware of. And I think the holidays, like I said, just magnifies or amplifies all of those feelings, because everything about the holidays is big. And
It
not
is.
whether that's good or bad. Everything is
Well, it
big.
is because the joys are big,
Yeah.
but also the sorrows are big. The
Yeah,
sorrows are
and the
huge
stakes
for
are
people.
high. The
Yeah.
stakes are high. There's a
Yeah.
lot of depression that comes up during the holidays, and anxiety and those types of things too. So it's a very joyous occasion for a lot of people, but it can be a really hard time too.
One of the ways to combat imposter syndrome is to actually listen to how awesome the people in your life think you are. If you're looking for the perfect gift for a loved one, where you can tell them all of the things that make them special, visit my Drawbridge Creative Etsy shop and purchase a Things We Love About You custom poster. With several styles to choose from, it's a fabulous gift for any milestone birthday, anniversary, retirement, or just because. So let's jump into talking about grief, because boy, that's hard on people during this time of year. I mean, you lost your dad just a couple of years ago, so the
Yeah.
holidays have to be tough for that.
I think grief around the holidays, it's twofold for me because the timing is one thing. My dad died on January 3rd. So at this time of year, we knew that the end was very near and we knew that it was our last Christmas together. And that was a very loaded time. I had a memory that came back today, and in it, you could see my dad's hospital bed in the living room. And that's just a reminder of how fragile everything was then and how fraught. Even I've seen expressions on my face during that time, and it's hard to see it back because it was just so heavy. And I know that when this time starts to come around, I start to feel a heaviness creep in, and that's because of the memories of knowing that the end was near. So that's one part of it. And then the second part of it is obviously that person isn't around anymore during those times. So that is a very big loss. It's a like we were talking about traditions before. So sometimes traditions go with that person or they change, and that's really hard to navigate as well.
Yeah. I mean, anybody going through the first year of losing, everybody talks about going through the first, and then going through the first year of not having somebody or dealing with a loss, that's really tough. Going through the second and the third and fourth, those are also tough. Like it does, because you get further away from it, but it still hurts. There's still those triggers at Christmas. There's still trying to remember, but also sometimes trying to get away from the memories that are constantly coming up. And Facebook does not let us get away from some of this stuff. Facebook keeps sending us little Facebook reminders, and we're like, so some days are a little bit tough.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you say that because this is year 3 for me, or the third. It'll be 3 years in January, and I have found this year to be particularly difficult, more so than maybe any of the other ones. And I don't know if it's just because it's so much more real now, and you get further and further away from those memories, and that's kind of sad as well. Like I was shopping the other day and saw a pair of socks that my dad would really like, and I started to cry in the store because I was like, oh well, I can't, there's no one else to buy those for, and I know he would really appreciate them. So those types of things kind of hit you unexpectedly, I guess.
Yeah, it's bigger. I think it's the holidays make it bigger.
Yeah.
The holidays make, like we said, all the holidays make the joys bigger, but the holidays make the sorrows bigger too. And we have to, I mean, we can get ourselves in quite a slump during the holidays. There's a lot of depression, there's a lot of the expectations and whatnot, and we have to figure out ways to be okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to figure out ways to keep yourself safe, to keep yourself occupied, and to keep yourself healthy. And that's going to obviously be different for every person. I think for me, it's important that I continue a movement practice, even when I'm off routine. Being off routine is actually pretty triggering for me in terms of just kind of spiraling out of control. So infusing things back into my routine, like moving my body, like taking time out to just have some downtime. Those are really important practices for me when I start to feel overwhelmed, generally speaking, but definitely when things are kind of like on maximum.
I often wonder if when you see somebody out there really jolly at Christmas and really seeming to be thriving, are they just faking it or are they really enjoying the holiday? And who knows?
I mean, I don't know. I think people probably are legitimately enjoying it because I think people that don't like the holidays are pretty happy to say they don't like them.
Oh, I have a friend that says she's a total Grinch. She hates the holidays.
Well, I will say I don't really love it either, although my husband insists that I'm like a closeted festive whatever. And my house is very Christmassy. There's no doubt about
It
that right
is
now.
very Christmassy.
But the holidays themselves, I generally find trying and more difficult. So
What's your favorite part of the holidays?
taking time off.
Yeah, I agree with you. I love when we've completely lost those days between Christmas and New Year's. I love the loss of those days. Except this year, there's a lot of social media to happen during those days because I'm working with some clients that I have to maintain their social during that time. So I'm, oh, that's crappy. So I'm
Yeah.
actually having to work a little bit because normally I love just being lost. I love Boxing Day when we're just doing nothing. When Boxing Day, the kids would come over, we'll have hot sandwiches and do nothing, be in our jammies.
Yeah, my favorite part is probably my husband really likes to plan the meals, and so to kind of help out with that and just kind of the planning part, I guess, is probably my favorite part, which tracks for me at all. And then obviously I like to see my family. My sister visits, which is one of 2 times a year that she visits. It's very seldom that my siblings and I are all together in the same space, which is usually a lot of fun to connect that way. So I like to see people that I don't normally get to see
Yeah.
and have a little bit more downtime than possibly I would other times when they're visiting.
I have my brother and sister-in-law coming this year, and I am greatly looking forward to that. But Emily won't be home this year, Emily and her husband. So I'm going to find that tough. The pandemic, at the beginning of the pandemic, Emily was living in Spain. And so for a couple of Christmases, she didn't come home. That was shocking to me. It was a complete shock to my system to not have my kid home for the holidays. This year, she's not coming home because she's working and whatnot. So I think maybe the pandemic made me like not comfortable with the idea of it, but it happens. Life changes. People's lives change. Traditions have to change. People get married. People have kids. People start their own things.
There were many years that my siblings didn't come home at all. They lived far away. My brother was in LA. My sister lives in Northwest Territory. So it's a long way to travel. And like I said, my family wasn't super festive. So it wasn't like there were a ton of traditions that they were going to miss out on if they didn't come home. But one thing I will say is when my dad got sick and we spent quite a bit of time together during that time, my brother ended up moving back here, which is lovely. And then my sister made it a priority to come home every year for Christmas because it kind of does put things in perspective to not see each other for so long
Yeah.
once you lose someone. So I think there is a silver lining in there to some extent.
I think you realize as we get older, we realize how precious time is, time with one another. It's precious. And that's really the gift that we can all give one another is time spent together.
Yeah, I think so. I think you don't really realize until it's gone,
Mm,
and how important those touch points are.
yeah.
So it makes me happy that I get more time with my family during the holidays than before. But like I said, I do like to control that time by being the host.
Well, of course. It wouldn't be like you to not feel, to not be in control of it or have control. I feel like I have gotten to know your family so well this year that I need to pop by and see your sister and stepsister at some
Oh yeah,
point
you
through the
definitely
holidays.
should.
Yeah, come over for a drink. I think I need to, not, I shouldn't speak for everybody else. I think I need to knock some of the expectations out of my brain. And
Easier said
it
than done.
is, but allow things to web and flow a little bit better instead of trying to take control of things that I don't have control over. The kids are getting older, they've got partners' families that also are looking for time with them.
Not to worry though, because soon there'll be grandbabies,
Oh,
and then
can't
you can travel to
wait,
wherever those grandbabies are,
right?
or they'll travel to you.
They'll travel to me. That's right.
You're just in that little bit of a holding pattern right
I
now.
do. I feel like with this empty nest life of mine that I'm like in between. And in fact, what I've been doing, if I call my kids and they're busy, the other day I called and one of them to do something with one of them and they were busy. And I hung up the phone and for a moment I was like, oh, and I was kind of feeling a little bit bad for myself. And then I went, nope, go visit your parents. Because I'm sure for so many years, mom and dad, it was the same thing. They would call me and I was busy with my kids or busy doing something else. So now I'm trying to give mom and dad back more time that I didn't have for them when my kids were younger.
Nice.
So
That's such a good way to rectify that.
yeah, I spent the weekend making a puzzle with mom and dad, and it was wonderful. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. And I guess I don't know what I'm trying to do, but I'm trying to just I'm trying to be more okay with my position as a single empty nest woman.
Yeah, I think you're just normalizing it and working through the feelings that come with it.
Yeah.
Because there are, it's a lot of um kind of grieving what was and making new paths forward.
Yeah, it's grieving what I'd planned.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I think that's for everybody. You have thoughts of what it should look like, and when it's not like that.
Are you looking to up your social media game? Social media can be intimidating and overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. At Every Day on Branding, we truly believe that every day is an opportunity to showcase your brand through authentic and aligned social media strategy and content. Whether you're looking for done-for-you social management or monthly strategy sessions, the team at Every Day on Branding can help you reach your ideal audience in a way that feels aligned and drives conversion. If you'd like to have the Imposter Sisters come into your business and help you and your team get comfortable creating social media content, ask us about our new Keen to Screen program, a value-packed social media training for anyone that is looking to up their social media presence either as a solopreneur or to empower their team to be impactful brand ambassadors.
It's tough.
Yeah, and I think we haven't even touched on the financial overwhelm and obligation that many families feel in terms of the increased spending that happens around the holidays and the competition to put on the best Christmas and to make sure that your kids are not hurting for anything. And the expectations that kids have these days for what they're going to get for Christmas is kind of astronomical. And then discrepancy between families. And I think we're largely seeing the elimination of the middle class right now, which has a lot of really dire effects for how children are comparing themselves to others.
For sure. I look back at the last number of years and honestly don't know how I did it. I don't know how I pulled off as a single person the big Christmases that I don't know why. First, I don't know why I did it also. I don't know why I did it. I don't know how I did it. I went into debt is what happened. And people shouldn't do that. I mean,
Many do though.
but many do. And the holidays are just tough. I had a friend that many years ago, our family tradition was that Santa brought everything. My parents didn't give me gifts. And I would look at other people and was like, your parents gave you a gift? Oh my gosh, you're so lucky. My parents never give me gifts, but Santa gave us everything. And I did have a friend many years ago ask me to not have everything come from Santa because her kids in her family, her tradition was to give the big gift from the parents and then Santa brought the little things. Well, in my family, Santa brought everything. So her kids felt like Santa wasn't giving them enough stuff. But I think to me, you do have to kind of find a way to explain to kids that every family has different traditions and their generational traditions and whatnot. But I do also think the economy right now is making things so difficult for families.
It becomes very difficult when you're dealing with magic to be rational with children in their expectations. And that's what I found early on, because we used to do the same where Santa would bring the big gift. And I actually switched that when he was probably 4 or 5, because the asks were starting to get so astronomical that I was like, we need to have some logic and reasoning in place for why those things are not possible. So made that switch, I think around that time when the gifts were starting to get exponentially more extravagant, or the asks, and started to set some realistic expectations about what you could expect, but still keep that magic alive to a certain extent. But also when the Elf on the Shelf came out, I was like, fuck,
what were people
and I
thinking?
am so happy that I made that choice then, because I was like, I can see this just being a fucking nightmare.
It looks horrific.
And we didn't do it. And I did have a lot of questions when he was younger about why don't we have an elf at our house? And is it because I'm not good or blah, 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 because of all the reasoning, like the elf comes to make sure that you're whatever. I can't remember what the backstory is because I never even engaged with it. But I was just like, we don't have an elf at this house. You don't require an elf to make sure that your behavior is on par. Plus, we have a menorah.
Yes.
We have a menorah in this house, and that is a tradition that a lot of families do not have. So it's mitigating. We're not going to have it all.
You're right. I brought the elf in. My kids are older, like teenagers probably. And I brought the elf in for 10 days, 1 year. And the elf wreaked havoc on my children. I had a blast. The elf I remember hung my daughter, the kids' bras and underwear in place of the stockings. And it did awful things to my children for 10 days. The part of me wanted to, I don't know why I was feeling like I needed to attack my children, but I did for 10 days. And that was it. My kids were like, no more elf on the shelf. Keep that thing away from us. Mom, what are you doing? It was, but I did have fun with it for about 10 days. But yeah, I cannot imagine, because that's 30 days.
Yeah, a lot of times it brings
25,
treats or it
still.
does things. And
Yes.
you have to remember, because if you forget, then that like the magic dies or whatever. I can't remember what the
Oh,
hell.
I couldn't
Then
even
you have to
remember
like,
the tooth
I'm like,
fairy.
December is ridiculous enough as it is. To have
Yes.
to add in something that I need to think about every day. Are you mad?
Yeah, I think that was a disservice to all parents out there everywhere to have the elf on the shelf. And again, I don't know, like, why are we trying to make it harder on ourselves instead of easier?
I don't know. Yeah. So it was never something that I entertained, but I definitely had to,
Because
I had to mitigate that disappointment.
Because now, did you see this Halloween for the first year ever? I saw boo baskets. Did you see this?
No.
Boo baskets, and now there's fur baskets for the holidays that your partner is supposed to put together a lovely gift going into October of warm socks and pumpkin spice things and decorations for the holidays. And here's your beautiful gift. And I mean, there's a lot of women out there that are young girls that are expecting the boo basket from their boyfriend partner, but it's happening. And now it's marketing, right? And that now it's the burr basket
For December?
For December that they're supposed. So there's a lot of guys out there. Listen, they had trouble with the promposals.
What the fuck? I didn't get a push present.
I didn't get a push present either.
Now I had no one to give me a push present at that time.
I had 3 children, 2 of them, I had somebody there to give me a push present, but 2 of the 3, but did I get a push present? No.
I don't even, was that even a thing then? I don't know.
I
mean, the baby was the present.
By the third of my child, I think push presents were a thing. Didn't get a push present. But yes, so there's all of these, we are marketing too much.
Oh, yes, the economy is crazy and everybody's on overdrive and everybody's in debt, and let's add more occasions that we need to uphold. It's just ridiculous.
And I think social media is
saying that though, Matt, if you're listening,
she wants a push present this many years.
Expecting my retroactive push present and a burr basket.
And a burr basket. And Matt, I would like a burr basket as well.
Not to worry, he does not listen. But
and it's social media that everybody's out there on TikTok.
Well, I was gonna say that sounds so much like a fucking TikTok.
It is. It's a TikTok thing, right? They're showing their boo baskets. They're showing their burr baskets. They're showing their.
I picked up a Scrub Daddy sponge last night at Canadian Tire, and I was like losing my mind over it. I was like, Scrub Daddy, blah blah. Matt, what is wrong with you? And then Carrie saw it. She's like, "Why you got a Scrub Daddy? What the hell is wrong with you two?
You
fucking scrub sponge
watching TikTok." We're doing this to ourselves. So I guess this is my point. We're making these expectations where, I don't know, it's like we're faking these not faking, we're making bigger expectations for ourselves.
Well, and I think it's just the constantly moving the dial.
Yes.
Constant moving of the dial. Constant. So to end this podcast, which has basically just been us shitting on the holidays.
Shitting on the holidays. and I love the holidays.
Why? And I like them.
Okay. I do love them. I do love them.
There are ways
myself now
that we can combat some of these feelings of overwhelm or anxiety or just the heaviness that can accompany the holidays. There are ways that we can make sure that we build in practices.
What are they, Dr. Alex?
I know you're wearing my very official
holiday glasses.
For
Okay, so
me,
exercise.
I don't like to be off routine. Being off routine for me is also, I think, what adds to a little bit of the overwhelm and anxiety I feel over the holidays. Now, I do love having the time off. I love not having to um, schedule my day to the nth degree, but at the same time, I do a little bit of structure. So for me, movement is important. That's just sort of a grounding practice that I do. So whether it's still doing a couple gym classes, maybe at a different time than I usually do, because usually I'm at 6 in the morning and I love not having to do that. But making sure that I make time to move my body just because it keeps my mind clear. I'm usually eating a little bit differently than I normally do. So my belly might not be feeling as great. So it's very helpful to just keep my body moving and it grounds me, like I said. So though that's one thing that I kind of try to stick with, maybe not as diligently as I do during the rest of the year, but making sure that I'm still carving out a little bit of that time just to get away and settle my brain.
Mm. I think for me, I kind of let myself feel the feels instead of pushing them away. But I also am trying very hard to just make changes in my life. And if something's not meeting what I expected it to be, then make something else happen. Call a friend, go out and do something, go for a walk on the beach, and not rely so heavily on other people to fulfill me and to make my holiday what I expect it to be. I'm trying to push myself to do that for myself. Yeah.
I think that's a good practice. I mean, I think that's always harder to do, but I think feeling the feels is always tricky, but once you do, you usually come out feeling stronger and more confident after the fact. And I think reaching out to people to fill some of those gaps during the hardest times is a really smart thing to do. And chances are those people are really would want to see you.
Yeah. I think we need to recognize that people are going through hard times, that this is not, it's not all joy. It's not all sunshine. It's not all fun.
And I think setting some expectations from a financial standpoint also
Yeah.
makes sense. There were a few years when things were a little bit tighter that I just would say to some of my adult friends, I just don't think we need to exchange gifts this year,
Yeah.
if that's okay with you. And that's happened in a lot of different pockets of my life where maybe we just exchange with the kids because that makes more sense financially. And most adults just don't need much. Matt and I typically don't buy for each other. We'll do a stocking for each other just to kind of, we spend a lot of money on things that we want throughout the year. So not adding to that during this time of year when there's already a lot of other expectations in terms of expenditures and those types of things. So just trying to get realistic expectations from a budget standpoint so that you're not then coming into the new year completely stressed out because you've overextended yourself financially and then have to figure out how to make that work.
Yeah, there's no worse feeling. There's no worse feeling than giving the kids all the magic and making Christmas so wonderful. And then on the other side of it going, oh God, what did I just do? And you start looking at everything under the tree and you're like, way too much, I did too much.
And chances are they're going to forget about most of those things by the end of the Christmas break.
Yeah.
So it's kind of trying to frame that as well. What is going to have the most impact in terms of gift giving as well, and trying to maximize that.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, these are all shoulds and woulds and coulds, and it's very difficult.
I certainly haven't done it. I mean,
there's a lot of pressure, like we said before. There's a lot of pressure to do things a certain way and to show up a certain way and to make sure, or at least let people think that you have everything under control and everything is amazing. And that's just most of the time
not the case at all.
So that's the point of this podcast, is not to bring everybody down.
I know. Merry effing Christmas. Yeah.
Humbug. But just so people know that you're not alone if you are having any of those feelings that we mentioned in the last however long this episode has been. The chances are there's a lot of people also feeling.
And I send a lot of love and a lot of light to anybody who is grieving and feeling hurt during the holidays.
Yeah.
Because it's bigger. Know that the holidays make it bigger. And I send a lot of light to anybody that feels that right now. It's tough. Anybody going through a divorce right now, anybody going through a breakup, all those big life happenings that then happen during the holidays makes it bigger. It's hard.
It sure does. And I mean, knowing who you're safe spaces are or who your safe people are can be really helpful during those times, and really leaning on them so that you don't have to project or pretend to be something
Yeah.
you're not feeling.
Yeah. Don't be alone. Go find your people. Go for a walk. Go shake your head.
Go back and listen to all of our episodes.
We have many.
If you need a couple hours to kill.
But 2024 is coming, and this year was not the best year for me overall, but I have still, the holidays always bring me so much hope for next year. And
Yeah, I'm not sad to see 2023 go, to be honest. It was a trying year for me too.
yeah,
So I am looking forward to hopefully some new habits, some new mindsets. I don't know. Catch me at the end of January when it's all shit again.
oh, it's gonna be good. We are changing mindset. We are going to have happy holidays. We are not going to have perfect holidays.
We're gonna have reasonable expectational holidays.
We are
Reasonably
happy, reasonable expectation.
mediocre holidays.
Oh, mediocre. Happy mediocre holidays to you and yours.
Mwah. We will see you next year. Next Tuesday year. Next year.
Next year on some Tuesday, we will see you.
See you on another Tuesday.
Bye, guys. Serving up hot brews, refreshing cold drinks, lots of fresh baked goodies, and delicious lunch options. Visit the Mellow Mug in the heart of Larry Utech for dine-in, takeout, or drive-through service. Their spacious cafe offers a casual and inviting vibe that's perfect for everything from enjoying a good book, hanging with friends, or meeting a colleague. The Mellow Mug is your neighborhood spot for great coffee and delicious eats and sweets.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Imposter Sisters. Please remember, we're not doctors or mental health experts. If you're looking for mental health guidance, please see our show notes for local resources. We'd like to thank our location sponsor, the Mellow Mug, located at 64 Delridge Lane, for donating this amazing space for us to have these important chats and for supplying us with drinks and goodies. Please give them a follow and make sure to stop in to see this beautiful spot for yourself. Until next time, keep your head high and we will see you next Tuesday.